Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of 40K Fight Club. It is Wednesday, the 30th of March, where I am. The time may vary for the rest of the world, as times often do. I am Ennis Wilson, and I am joined today, as always, by Nathan, who is counting down those 35 days until he has almost got his PhD, and Anthony Vanilla, who is back from doing much more violence this weekend. How are you guys been? How's your weekends?
Very much deep in the violence this weekend. We were putting the hurt on some people out there that may or may not have deserved it, depending on which round we're talking about. Nathan, how about
Oh,
you?
I mean, my weekend was pretty uneventful compared to Anthony's and Dennis's. I didn't go to an event or anything. I went to Adepticon briefly and said hello to a couple people and then left carrying a hive crone in a bag that I bought from one of the vendors there.
Well, that might have been the optimal way to enjoy Adepticon, in fairness.
Yeah, from
So,
what we've heard, that was the best. That was you probably had the best time there between Sigmar drama, 40K stuff.
I
You
don't
may
know. I
have
reckon
been.
Zach Point had a pretty good time, but
Zach Point had a great weekend, which is awesome because he's a great person. I'm really glad that he had a good weekend. Someone else on here did pretty all right this weekend, from what I understand. Ines,
I've to be fair, just been having a good week, let alone weekend.
yeah, talk
Yeah,
to me.
let's do the quick bet. I got a new job, which is really exciting for me. I'm going full
Woo!
time, which is going to throw like the rest of my life into chaos a little bit. Figuring out how to like find 40K time again will be interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm going to up to a 40-hour a week job. I'm more than tripling my income, which is nice. So yeah, my
Woo.
life is going to get a lot more flexible recently because I'm working on it Friday as well. So yeah, so I'm excited on that for. And I decided to go and win a super major, which was not expected. Um, so yeah, it's been a good week.
It's a good week to be
I
Ennis
cannot
Wilson.
complain. Yeah, exactly.
Everything is looking up. Everything is looking in us, as they would say.
Yeah. I've
Uh,
noticed, Nathan, that your boy Gengar's a little farther back than he normally is. He's retreated on his conquest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll probably try to come back, to be fair.
he comes forward the more confident Nathan is feeling, but due to his no events this weekend, the
Yeah,
confidence has
he's
vanished.
fallen back.
It's really the PhD anxiety more than anything else.
Ah,
I turn in a draft of my thesis on Friday.
oh,
Oh, good luck.
boy.
All 200 pages of it.
Woo, that's a few. That might be more total pages on that one thing than I've written at all, like about anything combined.
Thankfully, not. Oh, or I suppose not. Thankfully, not the case for me. I have written definitely more than 200, but not at once. So good luck, Nathan. I wish you all the best with your PhD.
Godspeed,
Action.
soldier.
It'll
Cool.
be it'll be good, I promise.
Uh,
Yeah. All right, bring
yeah,
us into the
does that
stuff,
count? Does
Ennis.
that count as an intro? I think that counts as an
That's
intro.
an
Counts as
intro
an
for
intro.
my eyes.
Cool. So as always, this is the first half of the show, part one, the main show, whatever you want to call it. This is available to everybody. So if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, is probably more likely, or if you're listening on any kind of podcast feed, this is what you'll get. If you are here for the live stream, there will be a second part, which we are calling the bonus round, which will be available after a short break, and it will be available to everybody who watches the live stream or anybody who is a YouTube member of the Best in Tabletop Network, which you can find at youtube.com/c/best tabletop. And that is the best way to get more of us, if that's something that you're interested in, which you should be, because we're great, and we have to say that. So make your own decision. But
Yeah,
we'd love you to join us because we think that the second part is good content. We answer a bunch of listener questions. We do a bit of a bit more casual on the whole front of things, because we're very professional in the first half, as everybody has realized by
of
now.
course.
9 episodes in. Yeah, that's us. So we are going to be doing three main things this weekend. As always, we're going to cover the theme of the week, which is the main part, which is what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the show. Then we'll be going into a stats breakdown, which is headed by Nathan, and then we'll be going through the results of the week and a meta breakdown headed by Anthony and myself. After that, we'll be taking a short break, and we'll be back for the bonus round. We'll be taking some listener questions and also chat anything from the chat, and just having a little bit of general back and forth. We might talk a little bit about our events as well, because myself and Anthony were both at events, and we can go a little more in depth. Okay, Anthony, would you like to lead us off with the theme of the week?
Yes, can do. Let's just so this week we had Adepticon and the Manchester GT, which are big two huge super majors that we can have a chat about, and just a ton of games. There was a bunch of events this weekend, so that just gives us a wealth of stats to just kind of rifle through and analyze and look and see how the new Craft World Harlequin book will be impacting and shaping the meta. There's a bunch of other singles and team events that happened this weekend, but in general, the theme of the week that there was a lot of large events, and that'll let us give a poke through of kind of where things have shaped up. Now we can see if the golden boys plus the fish have been toppled or not, and we'll go from there.
Spoiler alert. They fell a little bit. Just
Yeah.
a little bit.
In short, clowns up, hose down.
The banana is not ripe anymore. The
That's right.
banana is rotten, just like the meta.
Talk us through.
All
Well,
right,
speaking of the meta, come on then, Nathan.
time to talk about the part of this that is making me the most sad on the regular. Somebody asked me recently, Nathan, why do you sound so down about 40K? And perhaps it's because of the stats this week. So here we go. I'm going to do my best and basically try to talk our way through this absolute house fire. So for this week, we had a bunch of events. I looked at the top 10s, top 4s, and the overall winners for the week to kind of take a look at how factions are doing. Harlequins had 19 top 10 placings, 12 top 4s, and 4 GT sized events this weekend. Um, don't know about you, but that's about 44% of the GTs that I tracked this weekend. And I did add in a couple more because I was looking at the overall stats to try to get a bigger picture. So I picked a couple events that were typically on the fringes of what we consider for stats. And later, when I talk about win rates and a few other numbers, we'll be talking specifically just about 25 plus 5 round plus events. But for the purposes of this, I have a couple 22 and 23 man events that I added into it. So overall, 44% of GT wins going to Harlequins based on that data set. Nothing quite like a 5.6 times overrepresentation at top 4s. Nothing at all like it.
That's where we should be. This is just restoring elves to their rightful place in the meta over the absolute scum that are humans and Tau.
The hubris is accurate. It's true. And we haven't even gotten to Craft World Eldar or to Soup yet, which is just a whole nother fun thing. So what we've got next is we've got Custodes in second place. Now, when you make up about 13% of the meta, you're bound to do okay. And Custodes did all right. They had 15 top 10s, 4 top 4s, and 1 GT win over the weekend. And they have a representation of close to 1, actually very slightly less than 1. So they're actually represented about where they are supposed to be at this point. That's not to say that the faction is balanced, but they are definitely, according to this week's results, modestly balanced. However, I think that balancing force is a clown car full of angry people wearing masks, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Tower bringing up at third with 15, 9, and 3 GT wins. The Tau Menace is not going to be stopped. They're right behind Harlequins. There are a lot more Tau players than there are Harlequin players. There are 11% if you adjust it for 0.9% to 11 of the meta is Tau, whereas Harlequins only make up about 5%, closing in on 6% of the meta, about twice as much.
Yep.
And Tau still represent about 2.3 times their meta in top 4s on the whole. So they're still doing very, very well. Then we have Crafthold right behind Tau at 9, 4, and no GT wins. That's 9 top 10s, 4 top 4s, and no wins. And they're doing all right. They're at a 1.56 for overrepresentation or for representation in top 4s. And then Tyranids and then Eldari are going to kind of close out for our top performing factions. So Tyranids are doing pretty well, mostly thanks to Innis. They are 7, 4, and 1 GT win. And that one GT win is, in fact, Innis Wilson. And they got a whole 11% just off Innis's win. So you can see how those percentages kind of get a little different. Um, at 5.4% of the meta, they are twice probably represent. They're double what they should be in the top 4 compared to what you'd expect based on meta representation. Then you've got Classic Eldari, who are souped basically, who are 6 and 1, 6 top 10s and 1 top 4. And they're actually at right about where you'd expect them to be. They're at 1.1, which is probably fine. Since these are weekly results, they're obviously subject to pretty significant variation just based on performance for the week. But we'll talk about some total data kind of at the end as we go through faction by faction.
There's also always the fun thing with Eldari where a bunch of people will just put in Asayani or Drakari when they're playing Eldari with those Harlequin traveling players. They'll
I
just
would
lie for
never.
ECP. They'll
Could
just
you
lie for
imagine doing
ECP.
something like that, NS?
I would honestly, it breaks my heart for the stats people to think that anybody would do that to themselves.
Terrible. Truly
Definitely not
awful.
gonna point at anybody. 100% not gonna point at anyone who's ever done such a thing.
I played Mono Drukari, then Mono Harlequins, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
When I did the Adepticon like top 4 or top 16 breakdown and posted a couple places, somebody who was in the top 16 was like, "Ah, look at that one, that's me." And I'm like, "Nope, you put a BCP that you were Asuryani. That's someone else. You're stealing valor." It's
There
like, "No, man, you can't claim the rewards of being the only mixed Eldar if you're not even
Uh,
gonna put mixed Eldar on BCP."
I
that's
just
perfect.
found I just will always remember the person who was actually playing Custodes who said they were like Death Guard or something else. And I was like, "You absolute fucker."
Brandon, we see you.
Whenever
We
I
I will find you. I will find you, good sir, at some
You'll,
point.
you'll get to meet him at Charity Hammer, Nathan.
I'm not a violent person, I promise.
all of my events, I always when we're still like in the pre-submission phase, but when we're signed up on BCP, I always pick a terrible faction that doesn't exist because there's always a bunch of factions in there that like aren't real factions anymore. Like you can still pick Corn Demonkin or Dark Mechanicus,
Or
but I
Death
always pick
Guard.
that cards still exist. We just don't advise you play them. Yeah, I always pick one of those factions, and about half the time I get a message just being like, "What the hell?" Or somebody will be like, "Hey, I was looking through the list. Nope, that's nope." I got a message in the TO of Manchester, like, "Why are you listed as Corn Demon Kid?" I'm like, "I'm gonna change it before submission, but it's
Yeah,
funny."
yeah, for right now it's amazing, and later it'll be a different problem.
It's because everybody will now copy Innis and also play Corn Demon Can.
But if I forget to change it one time, I think that would also be really funny.
Yeah, you go in there, it's just
Like,
like
oh,
some absolute
I
nonsense.
did. I left it as Adeptus Titanicus this week. Back. And I just be just there, rock up with my turn, and I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, I forgot to change it on BCP, and it won't let me now. It's after list lock."
Yeah,
This
unlucky it's too late.
this is why me and Curie have to check lists individually
Yep,
because of that. That's
Because the
okay.
ITC
I
doesn't.
won't get
You can get
mad.
those rankings points however you want.
yep.
So we're going to talk again a little bit more about numbers now that we've kind of traversed some new ground where I may am made extra sad. A little bit about win rates. I think it's important to always note that win rates week to week are subject to a lot of variation, but that when we look at them kind of in the broader context, when we start adding a lot of events together, you get a better picture of like overall faction health from win rates. It's not the end all be all. I know somebody will probably think it's like the basic stat, but for the purposes of this, I think it will be good to look over, especially with a few factions who are still new to the meta. So their evolving win rates are kind of changing and a little bit more in flux than before. I will say that we're now looking at about 3 absolutely crazy factions, and then 4 to 5, depending on if you attack in a couple borderline OP factions at this point. And I'm gonna say they're Custodes, Tau, and Harlequins. And Harlequins are trying to establish a clown car tier all for themselves. Right probably around where Custodes and Tau are, Craft World, and then Eldar Soup are kind of coming in as well. And after kind of a disappointing first week in the full meta, they're rebounding quite substantially when we see them played at majors by a larger, more skilled player base, in my opinion. Um, but we'll talk about Custodes first. We're actually going to go up in win rate, so buckle in. So Custodes are at 57.2% win rate for the week. They made up 13.8% of the meta for the week as well, and then have a 65% if you consider the whole breadth of it. We've essentially had this faction around 70%, 65 to 70% for the entirety of the new codex. So it's absolutely ludicrous. And
It's
next are
also been buffed twice in that time.
it has so Sagittarium now have free knives because absolutely Sagittarium needed a close combat attack to go with their great shooting attack and all the points drops that we don't even talk about anymore because our sadness is eternal because of them. Tower next, they're at 58.7% for the weekend, but they did really well. They won, they were second place for GT wins over the weekend and second place overall for GT performance. They're at 11% of the meta and 65% overall since their new rules were released. So, again, another faction that's kind of hovered between 65 to 70%, essentially, since their new rules have been released. And then we have Craft World bouncing back quite substantially from a 42.2% win rate last week. And this jump was not something that I entirely predicted, although I was seeing more Art of War people at Adepticon playing Craft World Eldar. And then I saw more people playing Craft World Eldar kind of broadly as well. We'll talk a little bit about sub factions maybe in the bonus round where we'll go through some of the sub faction changes from week 1 to week 2 and how some people are probably bringing a few that are different. Craft World Elder this week we're at 61%, so a nice and mighty 19% jump in win rate, making up 7.1% of the weekend of the meta for the weekend, and then 54.9% is their win rate since release. So they are right at kind of the fringe of where we normally consider a balanced win rate at 54.9%. They're right at the edge. Then we have Eldar Soup, or Eldari, as everybody likes to call it, 67.5% win rate. And we haven't quite reached the top yet, guys. We've got one more faction after this one. They're at 2.5% of the meta, but it's mostly Harlequins tacked onto something else. They are at a 64.7% win rate since release. This is just 2 weeks of data. Win rate's not probably the best indicator of overall faction health, but I definitely would say that there's something going on here, and it's probably Harlequins. And I say that because Harlequins are at a 77.9% win rate. There was
That's
a
a little
Yeah,
high, isn't it?
there
yeah,
was a point
baby.
on Saturday where Harlequins were or over the week, first day of Adepticon, end of day 1, going into day 2, where Harlequins were at a 90% win rate. Just an absolute
Yep.
insane number.
For some context on that, I worked out a really fun quote unquote stat for people. You know how the luck of the laughing god works, where you can roll 1 to 6 dice, and if you don't roll doubles on any of the dice, you get that many extra luck dice.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so the odds of rolling 1, you're guaranteed it. The odds of rolling 2 is about 83%. Well, the odds of rolling 5 is about 9%. Um,
Yep.
if you, on turn 1 of your game, rolled 5 luck of the laughing god dice and succeeded, you were more likely to do that than lose as Harlequins after day 1 of Adepticon.
Mhm. Amazing.
For context, for those of you at home having played Harlequins all week, I won't roll 3 because I think it's too risky.
For context on that, I watched Manny roll 3 for the first 3 turns of his game in the mirror.
What an absolute mad lad, dude.
I would
That's so
probably
bold.
cap at 3, but I would probably do 2, and that feels aggressive. 2 feels aggressive still.
I
My round
rolled
3
3.
opponent failed on 2 twice from 1 and 2.
Ah,
I was like,
That's
ah.
suffering.
We're gonna get to you later in this, don't you worry. So Harlequins are at 77.9%. They were at one point at around 80 until we tacked in the rest of the numbers for the weekend. They have basically come to the point of where I think the wall for win rate is, and they jumped past it for a hot minute before the rest of GT results came in, and they kind of got pulled back a little bit from an over 80% win rate initially to a 77.9. And 78% is absolutely silly. That is a win rate that should never happen.
You could split that in half and still have a higher win rate than factions like Death Guard and Space Marines.
You could fit 4 Imperial Guard win rates into that win rate.
Almost. They're in the 20s still, right? Right?
Sure.
He
That's what
says very nervously,
we'll
right?
say that. We'll definitely say something like that. I will say that Innes is responsible for the faction v faction data skew that I see by himself. I'm pretty sure because Tyranids are the only faction with a nearly advantageous matchup against Harlequins, and Harlequins win.
I only played pure Harlequins once. I played mixed Eldari 4 times. So
Oh,
probably.
that's what it was. Well, fine. Then you didn't skew this.
I
So
can
Tyranids,
confirm that 2 of the other 2 Harlequin players at my event, like, each had, like, 1 or 2 losses, and they were Tyranids.
yeah, Crusher, I think is still not a great matchup for Tyranids, but we can talk about that a little bit later.
No,
Sure.
Crusher's terrible matchup for Tyranids. If you're playing Tyranids into Crusher, you're
Oh, I
just going to
mean into
lose.
Harlequins. Sorry. I'm
But
so bamboozled by my own notes that I'm looking at that I said the matchup backwards.
yeah.
So Tyranids are winning 42% of their games into Harlequins at the moment. Um, that is the best matchup that has multiple games.
So
The
yeah, Harlequins' worst matchup is the mirror.
Mhm.
Definitionally, because you can only win half the games.
Yeah. So outside of the mirror, Tyranids are the worst matchup. Congratulations, Tyranids. You have solved the Harlequins problem by yourselves.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. I mean, for the record's sake, because I'm sure somebody's going to ask about something being terrible. Oh, yeah, Curie. Oh, and his sweet summer child. We're going to quickly take a peek at our win rates. Astra Militarum for the week, we're at 20.4%. So they were
See, it's not below 20. It's
just barely above 20. We're 0.4% above 20 in a
We had an
four
'05 guard
tenths
player.
of a percent. I mean, I guess I could look at their overall win rate real quick.
I don't think I saw. I'm sure there were guard players at Manchester, but I never saw one.
No, you're too high.
Oh
It's
no, I did.
898.
Hader had them, and
Oh,
he smashed his first game, and then took his really cute meme list into Custodes and scored 19 points. So
And then it's 32% for the entirety of the time of the track.
that's not that, like winning 1/3 of your games with guard. I would take that, right?
It is still makes them the worst faction in 40K. But
yeah.
Somebody's got to be the worst, but they don't
for
have to be.
both this week and considering all of our data, Astra Militarum is the worst faction overall.
Good.
Also, Sisters have continued to bamboozle me every time I say that they might be okay. Sisters were at a 28.6% win rate for the weekend.
Nice. Great job.
Every time I say something good about Sisters, they go down, and every time I say something bad about Sisters, they go up again.
So basically, what you want to do is if you're playing Sisters next weekend, be very confident. If you're playing Sisters the
Exactly.
weekend after that, you're stuffed. It must be just like week on, week off, like the Emperor's Miracles working like it's like a sine wave. It goes up and down and up and down. Like you think like the Astronomicon is probably transmitting on like some kind of frequency, so it's got highs and lows.
Hmm.
All right.
Or maybe sisters just aren't very good.
But sometimes
Also,
they are. That's the problem, Anthony.
They're only good in the weeks when we have like 2 events.
it's true.
It still counts.
I guess
So
that's
I will go through the full faction v faction data for Harlequins very quickly because I lied. I forgot about one matchup that is important. So the other 50% matchup for Harlequins over the weekend was Eldari. So the craft rule book is good into itself.
Yeah. I'll put it specifically: Dire Avengers, Murder Void Weavers, straight dead, just straight dead.
Mm-hmm.
it's not good.
Sheer masses of firepower will definitely just work wonders into Harlequins. Otherwise, we've got like 2 0%, which are just I'm assuming nonsense. It's Black Templars and Chaos Demons, and I don't think they've played another match against each other since the new book came out. So they lost that one match, and it's just hammering their win rate down in that matchup. But otherwise, Harlequins have a positive matchup into every single faction.
Hmm.
Yeah, as well
Some
they
of
should.
some of them are at 100%, and like the
What's the
Adeptus
highest? What's the highest game count 100% matchup?
I would have to dig into the match data, and I'm not going to do that right now.
Okay, fair enough. Are there any that are like that you recall being like above 5?
I would assume that their Custodes and Tau matches are above 5. Their Tau win
Like
rate
for 100% win rates?
for 100% win rates. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go look
No
at it.
worries. I realize that's a very specific ask.
That
Basically,
is
um,
a very narrow
let's
question.
let's go with the general statement of if a faction's worst matchup is itself and the other half of its codex, that's probably not a good thing for the opportunities of everybody else to have a enjoyable game.
Yeah. And we do have some sub faction data for Harlequins. Light still appear to be performing better than Dark. See if I can add this together real quick. It's a little hard sometimes because some of this data isn't fully up to date, and I just pulled it up, and now I need to look at it again.
Anecdotally, from Manchester, light and dark both did pretty well.
Light is at a 72.5%, but I don't think that's fully up to date with all sub-faction selections. And Dark is right behind it. So I think that we're going to probably see some changes to Light coming up pretty soon. I would assume in May, whenever the balance status light comes out, and we'll probably see changes in that because an absolute horrific win rate of near 80% is just I don't know what else to say about it except that maybe Tyranids will be better depending on how the situation with Crusher and stuff works out.
God, I hope not.
I mean, if anybody wants to see the absolute ludicrousness that Crusher allows the new Tyranid book to reach, it is kind of oh, that's what it is. Thank you, Curie. So that data just doesn't correct for the mirror, so it's actually higher. Um,
Look, I'm
There's
not
a
gonna
single
complain.
character in that that, like, averages near 40 mortal wounds at a time, and it's just kinda
Yeah.
silly level.
Look. If they let me keep Crusher, I'm not gonna say no. I will keep going and winning tournaments. But please don't let me use that.
Even Innis will start to feel a little guilty when his 90% win faction just kinda, like, walks through most tournament matchups. Just a little. Like, a little there'll be a little shame felt by Innis at that point.
Yeah, I would get to know what it felt like to be an Eldar player for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're better than me. I would feel nothing.
Just Anthony just feels nothing. He's like, "Yeah, another day at the office. I've committed violence in the extreme and won 90% of my matchups."
That's
Yeah,
that
that's what you're
American
supposed to do.
individualism coming through.
That's what you're supposed to do. They gotta just die. You gotta get them. After Cherokee, no mercy for forever. Every custodian I see goes in the ground.
What about Storm Surges, Anthony?
Oh.
Ah, I don't even. I wake up in the middle of the night getting chased by something with no arms, and I don't know why I'm so scared of it. And then a giant gun comes out from over its shoulder and blasts me into another dimension. And I wake up in a cold sweat.
For context, Anthony got blasted into another dimension forced by Storm Surges at Cherokee.
Yeah, my poor beloved Drukari. That's how Draz died in that game. He got shot by the 12 damage gun.
Did it have ignore balls on it? That's what I'm hoping. That's
Oh,
what
he
I
didn't
want you
have
to say.
CP for it at that point, but it just I just failed this. It doesn't matter. I just that storms are just 88 guns on it. It doesn't matter.
But yeah, light is basically the majority of Harlequins at 40 out of 53 lists, dark at 12, and then there's still just that one lone Twilight player from the first week the Codex was out, and nobody else is playing Twilight
Good
other
for
than that
them.
man.
Good for them.
I
Um,
unironically think Twilight will be the go once Light gets nerfed, but we'll see.
Potentially. And Leviathan is, of course, I just like this number because it's 49 out of 50 and then one Kraken.
Guy playing Kraken's brave person.
One, and then out of 159 total Tyranids lists, according to this, 134 of them have taken Crusher Stampede.
Who's not playing Crusher?
There
Why?
are
Probably the guy
25
playing.
people who have it blank. Oh,
Why
I'm
would you
curious
not
if the
play
guy
Crusher?
playing Kraken's not playing Crusher.
it's
Kraken Crusher
possible.
D are kind of funny, by the way.
Ah, no.
And
Also,
then there,
Kraken has a fight first warlord trait, which is kind of interesting. You can put it on other units. So
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know there was warlord traits in the Tyranid book. I thought everyone just took all the ones out of Crusher.
yeah, we used to take one step ahead because it was the only thing we had in the Kraken Gene Stealers list. So
Hmm. Gotcha. I
and then
see.
I had one more thing I wanted to touch on. Custodes have officially beaten Space Marines for meta representation at this point, as of this week. Space Marines were at 13.2% this week. Custodes were at 13.8%
see,
meta
this is why I
representation.
wanted individual Space Marine stats tracked so that we can drop bombshells like that on people.
Oh yeah,
The
I wanted to save the punchline all the way for this point because I wanted to make everybody real sad.
the faction that outsold Warhammer Fantasy Battle is officially less played than dudes who clean the Emperor's throne room.
Yep.
I'm horrified. Actually, just genuinely disgusted by the state of the game at this point.
Yep.
I
And
yeah,
it takes quite a while for you to get back to like where those numbers kind of cross each other. So if you go back to the beginning of March, it was about equal, but then once you get into late March, Space Marines start falling and then falling and then falling and then falling, and now they're underneath Custodes for overall meta representation. They also have a 35% win rate when you umbrella all the factions together, which isn't too hot. So congratulations, Space Marines. You are in the bottom 6 factions overall.
and congratulations, Space Marines. You're in the bottom six, and you're not the most popular. Like at least they always had one of those.
Yeah, what are you even doing?
Yeah,
Oh, Space Marines.
Remember when you used to be like, oh man, he's gonna take oaths a moment. That's like a free 15. This is gonna be uphill.
remember when Dark Angels Terminators was something you struggled to kill?
I don't. I was playing Blood Angels at the time, but I'm sure for others that was an issue.
I remember when everybody was so upset about Dark Angels hitting the meta that they were like losing their minds, and now Dark Angels are in a like in a 35% win rate
I
faction.
mean, Dark Angels came out with a roaring negative win rate. Whatever. They were fine.
all of the hoopla for nothing goes to continue to prove that the community really doesn't know anything about anything.
Often.
Mhm.
Except us. We're not part of the community. We're better than you. Remember that.
Well,
Yeah,
we at least rely on data. Yeah,
I'm
I
being
know.
lied to.
I
I
think
mean, and
I
or
think you
even
rely on data. Me and
oh,
Ennis are still just out here with our feelings, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I just vibing over here, mate.
and then Cliff is taking our data and visualizing it now. Some of which we're going to share some visualizations with all of you in the second half of this podcast in the bonus round. We are going to do a slideshow.
Yep.
Well, not
Because
really. It will be one image. It's a
remember,
one slide
this part of the show is for
slideshow.
video and audio, so it doesn't really jive well with us looking at pretty graphs. But because the second half is live stream and members only on YouTube, that means that we can definitely put some nice little pictures up, and then it won't sound super weird for everybody on the show. So if you
But
want to see
for
that, get into YouTube.
but I
Yep.
will tell you now that it is in lines and it tells you which regions the balance all of the factions fall into.
There's
And it
there's colors and everything. Like I was
there's
able to follow it, and I eat glue, so
Yeah, he does. You don't get that pale without eating glue. It's true.
true. That's it for stats
I
that
get
I've
my
got this
vitamin
week
C
there,
from
guys.
cyanoacrylate.
That's right. Him and Elmer's best buds.
It's just Innis keeping Elmer's in business at this
Yeah,
point.
no one's bought Elmer's in years, but Nanas keeps the stocks up.
Cool. Now that I've ruined myself, let's. So,
Let's
do
move
you have
on
anything more to go
from
through on stats, Nathan?
no, the meta is in a bad spot, folks. We Somebody at Games Workshop is thinking that the philosophy of rules writing that we should take is to crank everything to 11 to solve it, based on everything that we've seen and everything that we've heard. And while Anthony continues to nod and think that that's amazing, I continue to think that that's terrible.
This isn't even our final farm. We can go farther.
We're
We
going to if
can.
Crusher stays.
We
Keep
can
it in.
crank it to 12. We can
Fuck it.
go to 12 and then to 13, mostly because those are entirely arbitrary settings, but that's neither
I'll
here
take
nor
it to
there
like
either.
200 mortal wounds if you want. Like
Just keep it going. You should be able to take 2 of that fly rent. Whatever.
you can, you just take the invuls ignoring one.
Easy.
No,
That
please
guy
stop.
basically swings mortals. It's essentially the same thing.
Ugh.
Yeah, now he's AP4 instead of AP3 like he was in the old book. He's
That's
even
right,
better.
baby.
On that note, we have a bunch of events to get through today.
Yes, we do. We have curbed. So there were a few team events this weekend, but there was some drama at the Spanish one that's made it difficult to follow and track. So we're going to pass on that one. And unfortunately, the Feast of Blades one in the Netherlands had a drop, so it only ended up being 5 teams of 5. So we're gonna skip those ones this week, and we're going to mostly focus on the singles events. We are, as always, cutting at 28 players and 5 rounds. So the old GT description. Yeah, so we've got 2 super majors and I believe 4 other events to go through. I think that's what I have in my notes.
Sounds right.
Two,
That
three,
sounds right.
four, five. Might only be 5. So for the super majors, we're going to go through first and second, and then we'll touch on the top 4, and then for every other event, we will go through first place.
Clear.
Okay, we are going to go from the top. Anthony is going to take us through Adepticon.
All right. So I would just like to get on record in a public place and say that people quoting the Adepticon at me all weekend drove me insane. The next time there's like a weird outlier event with bad terrain, please don't find me and yell at me about it for hours on end. In person. Thank
No,
you,
no, you should yell at
public.
Nathan for all things.
Yeah,
Remember,
all
yell at Nathan.
things win rate related, stats related. This guy, other
Anything that
faction.
you want to complain about, Nathan is happy to hear it.
Yeah, his DMs are open, people. More importantly, though, the YouTube comments. Hit us in the YouTube comments, but address them to Nathan. Best in Tabletop Network, DBA Nathan. That's who you're looking for. All
If
right.
you just tag my username hybrid55117 in every comment, I will come and find it later.
He will. He'll come and find you, perhaps, depending on what you say. If you give him a nice picture of webway gates deployed parallel, that's his
If you
favorite.
say 80% win, it's fine. He'll be under your bed.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Anyway, sorry, got off track. Adepticon, 256 players, 4 rounds, kinda, because then it's a cut to a top 16 with 4 more rounds, which I'm sure the players absolutely loved getting the shadow round experience 2 days in a row.
Yeah, 4 games in a day is a lot.
Yeah, especially twice. So, the winner was the absolute gentleman, Zach Point. I have played Zach before. He is an awesome, awesome person. I am very glad to see him taking down huge events like this. onto his list, he ran a full complement of all the data sheets pretty much in Harlequins because there's not a ton of them, and he used all of them except for bikes because using that is trolling right now, anyway. So he has a Shadow Seer with the range reduction, a Feel No Pain aura, and the stone that increases range. He has a tooled up troop master, bunch of troop squads with a variety of different things, mostly shuriken pistols, a little bit of fusion here and there. He's got a death jester with the exploding sixes combo that is become very common in every mono Harlequin list. He's got a solitaire with no upgrades. He's got 9 void weavers. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 star weavers, and that's kind of it. Mono white, played well, executed well, gets you wins. That's how you do it.
Yeah,
Um,
my notes here. So I go through all the lists that are on this, and I put a little bit why it's interesting, a little description. I've written get used to seeing this list about. It's not. That's all I really had.
yeah.
Um, it has all four Quinn's characters. That was all I had. You sometimes don't see the solitaire.
Yep, the solitaire comes in and out. I think he's absolutely crucial for how the lists function, but I'm also pretty firmly of the opinion that 6 voids is generally better than 9, but that's a different complicated discussion. In second place, we had Matt Robertson coming over from the UK. I believe he's on their WTC team, right, Innes?
Yeah, he was on the team that won in 2019.
Yes. So for by all accounts, an absolutely awesome player. He's running a super similar list to Mr. Point. It is 9 Void Weavers in light. Like Innes said, it's not the most interesting thing in the world, but it did really well. Got second place. Good job to Matt. Good job to Zach. And that's pretty much it for Adepticon.
If you are interested in the gameplay for that one, you can see the finals for that game on the Games Workshop stream. You can also watch the everything else from rounds 1 to 7 on the War Games live stream. That's on YouTube for YouTube Forward Games Live and Twitch for the Warhammer TV. The finals was a very interesting game to watch, in that you could definitely tell what was happening all the time with the both players' voiders were the same color. That's what I'm getting at here. I'm kind of dancing around the point. They were the same color. You couldn't tell anything was going on. It was kind of funny.
It's a bit rough, yeah.
Look, once you've airbrushed something purple, it all looks the same. It's true. Now, I have the absolute pleasure of talking about the Manchester GT in England, which was 173 players. Sorry, I subtracted 3 of you in my brain. 5 rounds and a cut to top 4. So first, I'm going to talk about somebody named Innes Wilson who played Crusher, and all my notes say is no big stuff, fast Crusher. So we'll get into the list and talk about it, and then we'll talk about why it's interesting towards the end.
Yeah, more importantly, Innes won an event without any losses, which is always exciting.
I know nobody can complain online on Twitter. That does count as the one in this. It's
Yeah.
still a swear.
Well, I'm getting the most out of it then.
Yeah, he's really he's, he's
And
really
it's
holding on.
you're approaching it counting as 2.
No, I
No, no,
think this is like
it's
a
like
second
binary.
meeting.
If I don't stop this, I can keep it going all the way through the end of the episode.
You keep on that note, and I'll talk about your
It's
list
gonna be
for a
really
minute
hard.
instead. We've got Tyranids, we've got Crusher Stampede, from Innis, no thoughts, only vibes, Wilson.
Yes, that's on my list.
So we've got 2 Hive Tyrants, both of them with wings, both of them with Twin Devourers with Brain Leech, the Swarm Lord, so you can just hurdle units across the board because that's always fun, has Onslaught. 3 units of 3 Tyranid Warriors, 2 of them with Bioweapon Bonds, so you can give out that +1 to hit the stuff. 6 Hive Guard with, of course, the Artillery Cannon, because why would you leave home without it? Well, it's still good. A
And legal.
Dimacaron, 3 Raveners with Death Spitters, which I'm assuming a bunch of people are going to start copying that particular maneuver
It
because
has already happened. I had a friend message me saying that he was signed up for an event and there was like multiple copycat lists. If you open a Crusher list and there's Raveners in it now, it's probably copying me, and I think that's hilarious.
then we have
Just
an
get ready for the new
Exocrine,
book.
which I think is a pretty good choice, and then 2 Harpies, which are pretty much my favorite flyer on Earth, especially in the new book. I mean, this list is really fast. I really like it for that reason. Um, I mean, Innes should probably talk more about his own list than I should, since he actually piloted it to a GT win. I can wax philosophic about what I think it does well, I suppose, but I think Innes will just stare.
Yeah, I'll run through the sort of broad strokes theory on it, which is that the biggest problem I had found with Crusher was that you start running like 2D Hero Duels, all those kind of really big things that have 18 or more wounds, and that means they don't benefit from obscuring terrain. And into the current matchup thread, where you're looking at things like Salvo Launcher Custom Bikes, Harlequins with masses of the prismatic cannons, and then you've got the Tau with their everything. I think everything, but even just stuff like Dire Avengers being able to jump, like disembark from behind a transport, and then shoot through a wall without having to expose them to a battle focus, all make stuff like the heroes really, really vulnerable. So I just kind of went, all right, sack that. Every deployment zone on the LGT maps, I'm going to have one of the 9x9 full blocking wall ruins. Team McCarran deploys there, rest of armor hides behind obscure terrain. I had the redeploy instead of Swarm Leader so that I can redeploy the Harpies into a defensive position if I go second, or into reserve if I need to be really defensive, or I can redeploy the Hive Guard or a Tyrant aggressively. And then it just let my list basically play a defensive list as Crusher, which is not something you get to do often. And then it can have two Fly Monster creatures with the Harpies with movement 30, and then also one of the Tyrants moving up to generally 40 inches and then charging for all three of them if you manage to cast Onslaught in the second advance. So you can have a lot of forward pressure in your opponent's deployment zone from a very defensive position. It just plays primary denial pretty well. It's got an okay secondary game you can kind of pick. There's no secondaries it can't do besides like the infantry action ones like R&D. It can do things like banners, teleport homers, even investigate sites isn't terrible sometimes. You just have a lot of play with being very flexible and just playing that really heavy primary denial game. The goal is generally to give your opponent like a 0 and then a 4 or a 0-0, and then let them get whatever they want in the end game when all your stuff's dead. Doesn't matter. You've scored like massive primary in the early games, you scored secondaries, and you hold them down. It worked really well. I went through to quickly touch on it. I played Necrons, then Custodes, which were both really easy matchups. Unfortunately, the Custodes just didn't have options. It's so funny. You put Harpies in the deployment zone, and they spend 2 turns killing them, and then you've won the game. It's great.
I like it.
And then I played pure Harlequins with 9 Void Weavers, and then 4 mixed Eldar lists. So I played against Baharoth 4 times and 86 Dire Avengers in those 4 games. And Dire Avengers with Hail of Doom every single time, and every single player had them. Jesus, those things are broken. That's the only note I had from the event. Is Dire Avengers are insane for 12 points. They have the ranged output of a pure Strange Insular, but they do it from 18 inches away.
What I'm getting from that actually is that they're not good enough because you played them a million times and failed to beat you every time.
Breaking through is also not balanced. That's the other note I had.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's the mortal wound output on the other side that Innes isn't talking about.
Yeah, no, like they are insane. Unfortunately, my list is also insane, so it kind of balanced out. But if
Something
you were
about
playing a normal list into those Dire Avengers, it's horrible.
let's talk about a normal list then. Well, we're not going to talk about a normal list. We're going to talk about the list that Innes loves so much. So we're going to talk about
Yeah,
Alex
this was my favorite list I
Harrison's.
played against the weekend, apart from Vix that doesn't have Void Weavers. Alex's list.
So this is Alex Harrison's list. So he's going to play a custom craft world plus light. And the custom craft world, I think, is actually really neat. So it's Hail of Doom and Webway Warriors. Hail of Doom and Webway Warriors basically bump stuff to just kind of silly points. So you get exploding shuriken weapons from Hail of Doom, and then you get +1 to hit when you come out of reserves from Webway Warriors. So you can get some really mobile, just like hefty alpha out of those units.
Rolling sixes when you come out of reserves.
That also might be for Hail of Doom. I think that's right. Um,
No, for Webway Warriors. Hail of Doom is the sixes to hit all wound and count as a 6 on the wound roll.
Yeah.
that's what it is. Thank you. So we have a Farseer Skyrunner who actually has Kurnos' bow, which was not a thing that I really
I'll
predicted to
run you
see.
through the combo after you've done the full list.
Excellent.
Okay.
I want to hear about that because pistol relics are usually terrible, and Kurnos' bow is a pistol relic. Then we've got Baharoth, Flappy Boy, but deserves to be in pretty much every craft world Eldar list. He's incredibly janky and does some silly things that are just kind of ridiculous.
Broken is the word you're looking for, but yeah.
It's true. Two warlocks with both with smite and jinx and protect. And then we've got one 5-man ranger, probably just there to hold objectives, honestly speaking, or to trigger resonator shards, I suppose. And then 2 units of 10 dire avengers with a exarch with a second shuriken catapult because you want that guy just two fisting those submachine guns in the
It's
sky.
free. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, I get it. I do. I swear. Two 5-mans of guardian jet bikes with scatter lasers, one with a shuriken cannon, 2 night spinners, and then a Harlequins detachment with all the typical good stuff. You have a troop master, which is a little different instead of taking, say, a shadow seer. But I think in this situation, it makes more sense. So you have a troop master with foot in the future and the rose, and then you have a death jester with harvester of torment, the guy who shoots 3 times and gets 9 hits. Then you have a troop, and then 2x3 void weavers with prismatic cannons and 1 star weaver to carry them places. This list is just so much ranged firepower that it's ludicrous. I kinda like it a lot. I think scat bikes are pretty good. I'm really intrigued to hear what this combination though is with the Kernos,
Yeah,
bow
so
relic.
I'll run you through the super easy bit. So if you have the Hail of Doom ability, what it specifically says is when you make an attack with a shuriken weapon, if you roll a 6 to hit, it automatically wounds, and the wound roll is treated as a wound roll of 6. It doesn't trigger the shuriken ability on a 6, it just is a wound roll of 6. Kurnos's bow is a relic pistol, which is pistol 3, strength 5, no, and then like dash dash for AP and damage. On a successful wound roll, it does a mortal wound. Mark of the Incomparable Hunter is a warlord trait, which on a 6 to wound uh, inflicts a mortal wound. So, with that pistol, which is a shuriken weapon, if you roll a 6 to hit, you generate 2 mortal wounds because you trigger Hail of Doom, which treats it as a wound roll of 6, which is a successful wound, so Chronos Pull triggers, and it's a 6, so Incomparable Hunter triggers. If you roll a 6 to, so if you have a fate dice of a wound roll or a hit roll, you can turn either of them into guaranteed 2 mortal wounds at 18 inch range. That guy did 18 mortal wounds to me in 3 activations. Guaranteed every time, no rolling. Just straight up did it. It's breaking through on a stick. And at least muted and making sounds.
Bang.
Yeah, no, it was disgusting, genuinely horrifying. I Yeah, I have nothing to say about it. It is insane. You can blade storm it too. It's a shuriken weapon, so if you have like 3 hit rolls of 6, you can guaranteed get 9 mortal wounds almost. It benefits from Doom and Guide as well if that's a thing you want. Yeah, it's really good. If you're playing Eldar, you should be playing Hail of Doom. You should be playing that guy. And you should be playing Dire Avengers. Probably at least 20, maybe like 26 with one squad and a Falcon's pretty good. For the thing is, the Dire Avengers. I want to keep going on this because I'm in love with Dire Avengers, like as a concept. They guarantee a secondary plan as well with Webway Warriors. You put one squad in Strat Reserve and one squad in actual Webway, and then they come in, they shoot an action for free, so they get you 2 rods guaranteed. You got the Ranger squad to guarantee a third quarter, and the Scout Bike squads can try as well. It's all just good. Um,
Seems
Yeah,
good.
they do so much damage. You can kill your own model with Eldritch Storm. When they come, so you put Eldritch Storm down, and then you deep strike the guard, one squad of the Damagers next to it with one model in range, and then you take D3 mortal wounds. Guaranteed, it just hits you. You don't have to do anything about it. If you take 1 mortal wound, you kill a guy. If you take 2 mortal wounds, you kill a guy. You put one on an Exarch. If you take 3 mortal wounds, you kill 2 guys. You put one on an Exarch, and then you get the double tap. And yeah, it's expensive, but you're doing Eldritch Storm anyway because it's Eldar. Why wouldn't you? Just get to do loads of mortal wounds, and then you get to kick out a million shots from these guys that have exploding systems from Blade Storm if you want it. All hit on 6 to wound. You've got Doom, you've got Guide, you've got Jinx, everything you could want. I lost a Demon onto it straight up with the Relic Pistol and one squad of Dark Riders. Straight up kill a demon, which is a toughness 7, 18 model with a 3 up armor and a 4, 5 invulnerable save. Straight
That is
down.
impressive. People, if you are sleeping on Dire Avengers, you obviously should not.
They're also 5 invulnerable save and 12 points of mortal.
Yep, they are relatively cheap.
You can
Relative.
even make one squad obsec, which is not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not expensive to do that either. It's like 10
No.
points.
I
Yeah,
think it's their
you can generally
cheaper.
do it on one pretty comfortably.
I think it's their cheapest ability.
Yeah, it also protects the Eldritch Storm squad because even if you roll a 3 on that D3, you now only lose one model. Because your Exarch now has 3 wounds, you can put the 2 extra damage on him. So
Make
you
Mhm.
it
can get
ballistic
even
skill
more
too
damage.
as well.
Yeah, but that generally doesn't matter too much. But
Yeah, sure. It's just a thing to keep in mind, right? 6 ballistic till 2 shots with that thing.
yeah, that's the general gist. On the last one, the Scatter Bikes is just purely for shot volume. You get more shots than you do out of the Shuriken can, I believe.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. Oh, it's so many more shots.
yeah, it's heavy 6 instead of heavy 3, and you've got Jinx anyway, so they're generally chasing after things like other Harlequin bikes. But there is one guy with a Shuriken Cannon because it just gives you an outlet for Fate Dice if you don't have anything else to use it on. So it's just one guy to use that on because if you use a 6 to hit, you get the guaranteed heal of Doom. That's all it's really
Yeah,
there for.
that squad seems like an odd choice relative. I guess you're getting enough value out of Hell and the rest of the list that you don't need like a full squad of Shuriken bikes, but
Yeah, it's mostly from what I understood from like talking to Alex about it. Obviously, we played in the last round. I just shot them with high ground. I didn't really deal with them.
Mhm. Yep.
They are fast. They give you objective scoring. They are an option for Rod. I don't believe he's running Will of Assyrian, but you could probably switch into that if you want to run like a 6 man. I think that's what Conrad was doing. I killed his first to check what his psychic powers were. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of options with the Elder book. I think you can kind of grab bag units and find pretty much anything that works. Halo Doom is the best option, hands down. I don't think anything else comes even close.
Yeah,
It
having played against and with a little bit Halo Doom now, I don't even like it feels like even running something as strong as Ulthway is like almost trolling. Like Halo Doom is nuts.
Auto winning is pretty good, and
it
auto
Yeah.
is
winning at AP4 is even better.
Yep.
And then yeah, you had there was also 6 Void Reavers in that list. In case anybody forgot that they're quite
Yep.
good, 6 is the right number.
Yeah. I'm less in on them without luck dice, but that might just be my own perspective from the weekend skewing like my understanding of them.
The trick with them is that they're not doing as much heavy lifting. They're not your only range damage output in this list.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
you
They're
don't
just a
necessarily need
live
to
all
keep them
game.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah, they just
They
shoot
just
for
kind of
5
float around
turns.
the edges. You're too busy dealing with the scarabags in your face. You're too busy dealing with the trip master hiding behind you. The Farseer dropping mortal wounds on you as well.
Right.
There's night spinners. Like it does a lot.
Yeah, they're all
Mhm.
Very
inundated with
improved.
other things that are annoying.
Harrison finished first after the Swiss. Took down 9 Void Reavers in the semi-finals, and then went second against me and had a bad time.
That makes sense. How do you feel about that matchup going second?
Rough, definitely rough.
Rough?
Yeah, because I killed the Night Spinner turn one because he had to use the
Uh
Night Spinners to screen his Void Weavers, which is a weird concept.
yeah, what
But
a
I
feels
killed
very
one
bad.
turn one with the double move charge, so I forced the Trip Master to light move out of the way. Otherwise, he was getting breaking through it, and then charge into the Night Spinner. Um, and then I killed that turn one, so I didn't lose any Hive Guard turn one. If I go second and I get shot by 2, and I also don't get to redeploy them forward because I
Right.
redeployed them from my back rune into a midfield rune, so they would actually be in range of stuff. I think it goes very differently. I think it would have been much more favorable for Alex. Not unwinnable, but much harder because I would have also had less turns to sell before his deep strikes came in.
Right before you're getting deep struck into, because obviously a huge component of that list is the Webway Warrior part.
Yeah, getting to
Yep.
drop a couple spore mines on the board before Alex gets to do deep strikes was actually super useful.
Oh, that makes
Look at this
sense.
big brain play right here. Big
Yeah.
brain play.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm
Yeah,
curious if
no, it
there's a
was.
version of that without Webway Warriors that I would be more interested in, because deep
Uh,
striking lists always inherently terrify me for that reason.
There's the
But
mobile fighters one that you could take transports with instead.
Yeah, that's what Vic was playing. Vic played mobile fighters with a squad of 6 and a Falcon, I think it was. No, it was just 3 squads in Waystar. 3 squads of 10 and Waystar Prince.
I want to take 3 Wave Serpents. I'll play with it. I mean, that's like
Vic
something
was
to think about
running no Void
elsewhere.
Weavers. That's why he had points.
Yeah, I definitely want to play mixed stall. I'm gonna
I
mess with it.
played Brody Middleton as well. He had one squad of 10 that went in Webway. I think he played Ignore Cover on them. He had one squad of
Uh,
10 that went in Webway, one squad of 10 that went in Wave Serpent, and one squad of 6 that went in a Falcon. And that gave him 3 comfortable R&Ds off of that, and then the troop squad that could bounce into reserve if it needed to.
That
right.
makes sense.
And then he still had 3 squads that could do reasonable damage. I think that would have worked as mobile fighters as well. But
Right.
ignore cover on the wave serpents on the night spinners is pretty reasonable.
Right. Yeah, I was
So
gonna say
there's
that
definitely
buffs
there's
your other
definitely a lot of
stuff.
other options you could go there. You could even take like reroll a wound roll, something like that. There's definitely things you can take.
Yeah, I'll play with it. I mean, even warded runes isn't bad for that scenario because at least you don't instantly evaporate when someone tries to do mortals to you.
Yeah, exactly. I think I killed 18 Dire Avengers with breaking through that game.
Right. Yeah, if he has a
It's
5
like the
up
only way
there.
my list could kill them. So I was like, oh, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, right.
No, it's super interesting to see the design space because the Elder Book kind of got pigeonholed a little bit as you kind of want to run indirect and that's it. But Dire Avengers are so much damage output. They're reasonably resilient for being 4 up armor 5 with invulnerable save. They don't just fold to a stiff breeze. You have to actually like put stuff into them, and they're not expensive for what they do, and their
And if
damage
I'm
is
not
really
mistaken, they're assault guns, so they can really zip
yeah.
around and light you
They're
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
assault, so they can they move. Their movement 7. Their guns are battle focused. They can guaranteed advance with fate dice
Right.
or yeah, fate dice
Yeah, yeah.
and
Mhm.
they can battle focus afterwards. If they don't, they can all advance 6 with
Well, they could just fire and
all
fade.
battle focus 8, fire and fade. Yeah, you got loads of
Yeah.
options with them. Yeah, it was super impressive to see the fact. I saw 5 different elder lists over the weekend. It
Right.
was really interesting to see how all the different directions of the faction and how they all folded to harpies.
Great.
They
Now
do just die.
onto the portal through the
Oh,
No,
portal.
yes.
next is Krakow. We're going an event size. We're going top to bottom. So we have the Challenger Krakow Arena in Poland. This was a 70-player, 5-round event using WTC scoring, and we're going to probably have to explain this. It was 2,137 points. And that's how I know my co-host didn't read the show notes fully.
No, I
He's
read
going to.
that. I was confused then. I'm
Also,
performatively confused
The
now.
Polish Pope John died at 9:37 at night.
so
21:30
2137.
21:37. And he was,
Okay.
I believe that from what I read on Urban Dictionary, he was a beloved figure in that he didn't allow anyone to criticize it. So now everyone criticizes him and it's become a meme. That's all I got.
Fair enough.
They played standard 2,000 points for everything else, but it was 2,137 points. I don't get it either, guys. It's like if an American GT ran at 1776 points. It'd be confusing to us. And Anthony's looking and nodding like he's seen someone do that.
I mean, I'm sure somebody has
No.
done it.
I don't live in the
I'm
South, dude. We don't do weird stuff like that up here.
Okay, so the winner of this one was Christian Kraftsik, who was playing a light double trip master, 6 void, and 6 Star Reavers list with 6 full fusion squads. It had a double trip master, which I think is probably the only real interesting part of the list. I think that's just kind of what you add with the extra 130 points is you just go, all right, here's another trip master. He went 4-0-1, and his draw was versus a pure Dracari list.
Yeah, that list sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's fairly familiar. It's we're gonna talk about it when we talk about the Mythicos, whatever, blah blah blah, like the other 8 words that were after that name in a second.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so congratulations to Christian. You definitely had an interesting list. We will go back and we'll jump to the top fours of the 2 super majors in a minute as well. Once we
Yep.
finish going through the winners of the events,
Cool.
because I realized that was a thing we said we would do, and I completely skipped.
Just zooming.
Zoom in, just straight on through. Okay. Next up, we have the Portal 40K Spring GT in the USA. What is with you guys and adding like 800 words to every single title?
Because they have to describe like where it is, what it is, who's running it. All goes in the title. This one was in Connecticut. This one's actually pretty close to me, so there's probably a degree of like some players trying to go to both but couldn't. So the winner was Benjamin Rubenstein playing Tausept with 6 broadsides and 2 direct fire crisis squads. This list absolutely slams. If you are in the open, you are dead. Anything that steps out gets lit up by this. The 6 broadsides gives you a reasonable amount of SMS to force like the nonsense forward. Your backfield objective holders are never safe against that. Um,
54 SMS shots. I feel like we're describing this as light indirect because it's not running any AFP squads. I believe it's like a plasma squad and a burst
yeah,
cannon
it's
squad
all
he
direct
has.
fire stuff.
All direct fire. But that is four and a half, 5 Thunderfire cannons. If for those of you who remember remember your 8th edition lore, this is
Yeah.
like we're not saying there's indirect in this, but there's 54 shots a turn.
Yep.
54?
100%. It's a lot. It adds up in a different way because a lot of the broadside
48. I
shooting
know that.
is gets clipped at range. Like it struggles when it's not under Monka and left, all that stuff.
Well, you've still got Shadow Sun, right? For one of the squads.
That's true. Yeah, you're buffing up one of them pretty
Yeah.
deadly. Again, though, if you have things in the open, she's probably going to go on a direct fire squad and then buff that and shoot there. So it is. Don't get me wrong. This is not an okay amount of indirect for a list to have, just compared to the other Tau stuff. You're not getting tabled from behind a wall usually.
No, probably
Um,
not.
so yep, that's that. Yeah,
There was one more thing I wanted to touch on this also, which is that all the broadsides are running stabilization optics, which are the
yep.
ones that allow you to ignore the heavy penalty. So if you do take that,
If you go to Kayun,
you go
you
to
can
Coyon,
move
you
and
still get
shoot.
that, which gives you some like movie play into others. It also ignores the engage and fire penalty, which means that this is going to be very aggressive with
Oh,
its broadsides because they won't take the heavy penalty. They'll still be hitting on
interesting.
force. So it gives it a decent capacity to just kind of like run forward to try and get into things like light range. Or the note I have here is that it smashed 90 cannons and 3 spinners in the other matchup. I believe it was like 90 something 17, which
Oh,
I'm
I
guessing
believe
is
that.
just those broadsides just went straight forward and said, I don't care if you tag me. I will fire whatever tag me with SMS and pump D cannons into the night spinners. And
Yeah,
just didn't care about getting tagged up.
it's a really rough time when you take that many indirect pieces in Eldar. You don't even necessarily have enough stuff to tag those types of things. They get to kind of just walk at you and run you like and walk you down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and broadsides that are feeling confident enough to walk you down are terrifying.
yeah, no, that's very scary. They're really hard to kill. I played against Tau this weekend, and it was a very one sided win, but it was broadly dealing with those was very
Yeah.
annoying.
The toughness 5 8 models with the 12 armor save are hard to kill. Who'd have guessed?
Yeah, as it turns out. It's really the 8 wounds. That's the
Yeah, I
bad
know.
part.
It's like nothing kills this well. Like even
Yeah,
Void Weavers, you're like you probably need like 3 prismatic cannons through to kill one.
every
Yeah,
time. Yep,
could take 4.
it could. It won't, but it could.
You
I
can't
will
luck dice damage rolls.
I will spite CP those. Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
I'm like 99% sure you can.
I hope you can't, but I'm gonna make you check. Okay, let us jump on to the
Focus
Mythicos
on the list. Yeah.
Studios Manhwa Leprechaun. Nathan, do you want to run us through Anthony's tournament?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. So we're going to talk about Mythicos, which was a 34-player 5-round event. And we have the winner in house because that's Anthony right there in the corner, who ran possibly my favorite named list of all time, which is Kink City, um, which is a light.
I thought the network told us we weren't allowed to say that anymore.
It's the title of the army, and I'm saying it.
No, it's right there on top, dude. We said no brains, only vibes, or whatever yours was.
Yeah, so I'm just using the title, and it is what it should be called from now on. FYI, that's all I'm going to
You
say about
cannot.
it.
You can reroll damage rolls with luck dice also.
Okay, I thought so. I was like,
All
it's
right,
what?
so we
No,
got
you can't reroll charges. I knew there's one thing you could reroll with it.
Yeah, it's charges.
Blaze of Light, so your pretty standard stuff. The really interesting thing here is that there are 2 troop masters. So you've got one with the Kregarorks Rose and Queen of Shards. Oh, we're and a foot in the future. So you're doing some funny stuff to people, especially with Player of the Light adding extra strength and attacks into that situation. And then you've got what I think is the great number 2 troop master, which is the one with Storied Sword, who does some pretty interesting stuff once you get him into combat because he auto hits with all of his attacks. You get to eliminate a whole step of variance, people, that may in fact be good. And then you have a bunch of troop squads, all with 2 fusion pistols, all with some kisses and caresses, so that if they do get out, they can punch stuff to death. And then you have 9 Void Weavers as the requirement in life.
Not
But
9.
oh,
It's
it's
only
just
6.
6. I'm sorry, Anthony. Just 6.
Professionals have standards,
Yeah,
And then Death
not
Jester.
high ones, but
but some.
I don't know. Death Jester, who gets 9 hits instead of 3, and then a Solitaire with Prince of Sins, which I always think is like a novel upgrade to give him, since then he's -1 to hit all the time and doesn't get rerolls against him.
I've
It's
since
not.
cut it
how many times do people actually roll attacks at solitaire? Like
It's true.
twice. All
Um,
event.
I killed 3 solitaires, every single one with headbutts.
oh Jesus. Yeah, I mean, solitaires don't need Prince of Sins to be effective.
Ah,
Um, so you can just get 20 points elsewhere. I also don't think you need it, but it like if you have 20 points and you don't want to put it somewhere else and you want to toss an upgrade on your solitaire, like whatever.
yeah,
It's not gonna hurt you.
that's pretty much what
Um,
happened.
Otherwise, this is just a pretty solid, all around good clown stuff build. I like it a lot. I like to.
This is 6 void clown stuff. There is 9 void clown stuff and 6 void clown stuff. There ain't much difference, guys. It's do
Yeah,
you add like an extra couple squads of troops or do you add 3 void reavers?
I do
That's
just
yeah.
like double troop master because I think that second close combat troop master thread is always kind of nice, and it lets you
that
use those.
was extremely important all weekend. We played on GW terrain with like the basically like in the hammer setup in GW terrain. There's 2 ruins in the middle. We played on that with on both setups, like on Dawn and on Hammer. So there was a lot of places to hide. And we also played the GW ruins as full use pretty much. So you had to get like all the way around if you wanted to shoot into them. So having the 3 smash characters to be able to go in there and dig stuff out was a big deal. Um, but yeah, I've made some changes to that list since then. I cut Princess Sins and I shuffled around some melee weapons. Now every one of my troop squads has 2 neuro disruptors, and that gun is hilarious. So we're gonna see how that goes in testing
It's kind of
this
sad
week.
you can't call your list King City anymore though because you don't have
I
an
know.
upgrade on everybody.
Yeah, I don't have the all the pivotal roles. I was thinking about cutting the solitaire wholesale just so all the characters I did take would have a pivotal role. Like I really it was like a couple of minutes where I was like,
You
just turn into
could.
spikes and just still be King City. We could just do it, but it doesn't work.
I think you could
Okay.
take the solitaire out. I mean, it would be sad and a mildly
It's not as
depressing.
good.
It's
It
it's true.
yeah, he's super important for the mirror.
Then we do have Factorum next, which was a GT in the UK, which Innes is going to tell us about right
Yeah, so this is our last event of the weekend. This is the Factorum GT in the UK. It had 28 players and was 5 rounds. And this was won by Sam Nash on a Shadow Keepers build with one of each of the 2 Forge Architecture Dreadnoughts, so one Achilles and one Galatas. 6 Wardens, 2 squads of 3, 3 Venatari, and I believe I have it written here 6, but it was only 3 bikes, 1 bike captain and Trajan. The interesting thing I had about this list is that it's a much lighter skew on bikes. It's just the 3 plus the 1. And then the contemptors in the Citadel Venatari still keep that ranged output reasonably high. The Venatari are not something we've seen a lot recently, but they are not awful. They've never been awful. They still do decent damage output, and they're fast. Give you that little bit of scoring. Opens up some options like banners, turn one, things like that. You've got the kata that lets you action and shoot, so they can do things like that. And then it goes super super heavy on wardens. 2 squads of 3 is more than I think we've seen. I don't think I've seen a list that's had 6 wardens at all this edition yet. Nathan, have you or Anthony?
A friend of mine that got top 8 at Cherokee, I think he got 8th at Cherokee, took 6 Wardens. It
So
was helpful on frontline
some
too.
people have seen it. We won't have seen it because we
Yeah.
won't talk about it. That's what
Yep.
I was getting at.
Yeah, it's
Um,
around, but it's not like super duper common. If you
yeah.
really are trying to abuse bodyguard, it's good, which I guess makes sense in the current
But
meta.
yeah, in the meta at the moment, where if you can just have 2 objectives that are just locked down, one with Trajan, one with the bike captain, both of which can heroic 6,
Yeah, it
that
works super well.
sounds pretty reasonable. The thing I actually kind of want to check this with Shadowkeepers. I want to check if it was running Impregnable Mind on the bike captain instead of anything else, because I think that could actually be quite interesting. Because Impregnable
Yeah.
Mind, I believe, gives you counters extra models.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, because it'll have been running Warden, because that would be really interesting for objective control. But I
I'd
actually
be
don't remember.
surprised if he took something that wasn't Lock Warden, I believe it's called.
Expecting it to be Lock Warden and Feel No Pain. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that could be something interesting. Maybe worth getting a third. Like this is a list I think could really benefit from the Praetorian plate because that guy
Right.
could take Incredible Mind, and then
Yeah.
if your light captain does get ganked by a bunch of obstacle that it can't deal with, you can always jump obstacle over to that objective
That
and
build is
help
so
out.
powerful. The combination of like all that together is very good.
And then Shadow Keepers on top of that to really drop the attack for anything that tries to go into it.
Yep.
No, super interesting. Congratulations to Sam. We are going to quickly jump through the back 4, and then we're going to go into the we're going to jump into Anthony's question of the week, and then we'll be doing our meta breakdown. So I'm going to go through the top 4s of Adepticon and also Manchester. You can just hold for 1 second.
Yeah.
We get some elevator music on or something like that.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
joking.
yeah. We
We're
can.
not putting. We've only got a 30-second version of that tune.
That's true.
So the top 4, the top cut 4 from Adepticon was Zach Point in first place, Matt Robertson in second, both on Harlequins. Then we had Thomas Ogden on a highly aggressive. It's like 5 squads of Crisis Suits Tau list as Tau
As
set.
Ogden does.
Yeah, Ogden doing as Ogden is what to do, dropping like very few points. I think he was top after the Swiss.
Usually is.
Sounds about right. And
That
then
man
in fourth
scores
place
hundreds.
was John Lennon on Harlequins, who lost to Zach in the semi-finals.
Yep.
That was the other 9 voted was listed top 4. Congratulations to also to Austin and Eduardo, who made top cut in the top 16 with the Necrons, and to who was the Ultramarines guy? There was Ultramarines. David Fields, who made top cut with Ultramarines with Gulliman of all things. Super
What?
impressed.
Yeah, that's a rough go.
That is a rough go. And then the Adepticon top, that was the Adepticon top cut. And then the Manchester top cut, we had 5 undefeateds after the Swiss, which was the top 5 after the Swiss was Alex Harrison on the build we talked about, Stephen Box on 12 Skyweavers in Dark with no Void Reavers. Then Andy Oakham on 9 Skyweavers, who beat Manichima in the in the 5th round. Myself in 4th with the Turners as we discussed. And then in 5th place was Conrad Barkowitz with his Eldari, basically a bunch of indirect. It was like 3 Night Spinners, 3 Shadow Weavers, and then a Miser Harlequin detachment as Dark without a bolt, which was unfortunate because it died real quick. For context, I tabled Conrad on functionally turn 1. He would have had it turn 1, and it wouldn't have had a turn 2. It was kind of horrifying. The list just couldn't deal with big monsters. But he had a really low scoring game 1 and played at the bottom of the bracket all the way up. Massive props to Conrad for winning all his games, but like he was playing Thousand Suns in round 5 when every other table was like Eldar versus Tau. So
Oh,
there's
were
always
pairings not random?
no. It was 1 place 2, 3 place. So because it was cut to
Uh,
top 4 and there was possibility for up to 6 undefeated, you kind of have to have 1 play 2 because you have to be able to guarantee that you're playing at the top because it's battle points cut. It's just one of
I
the things
guess.
with the
That's
GT.
that makes some sense.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, but it kind of had to be that way.
Right.
Yeah, so Conrad played Thousand Suns in the fifth round, which he did obviously take down, and you can only play what's in front of you. But I
Yep.
think that list just had a couple of difficulties with big boy time, as Anthony
Yeah.
likes to put it, of
Big
just
boy
having too much
time,
stuff throughout
baby.
his face arm, throughout his face early. But it murdered the Harlequins mirror, which was super cool to see.
Makes
Um,
sense.
Halo Doom again. It's all Halo Doom. Okay, that is it for the GTs. Anthony, shall we jump into your question of the week, which will be if you want to leave a comment on the YouTube, we were going to go through them and we'll pick our favorite to read out in the bonus round of episode 10. So we would love you to interact. Leave us a comment on the YouTube, drop a like, drop a subscribe. There's some cool stuff coming down the YouTube field. I'll do the plug now. The Best in Tabletop Network Battle of the Generations tournament happened at the weekend just gone there. And the first game, which was Tyler on New Tyranids versus Zach on Tau, will be going up on Thursday. That is going to be Thursday US, I believe. So if you want to watch that, subscribe on the YouTube, and then you'll also see all the live notifications for everything else from the Tabletop Network, Best in Tabletop Network. That's the words, and also all of us. And leave a comment because we promise we'll read them all and respond to them all. There was no comments in the last episode. I was hurt. I know, heart just truly, truly devastated.
Guys, come on.
It made me deeply upset because I enjoy getting shouted at by the network to go and respond to the comments on the YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's an important thing to have happen.
Okay, Anthony, drop us into the question of the week.
Alrighty, folks. My question to you this week. Last week, we got to talk about fun things, your character that you love dearly. This week is the other side of the coin. What is the unit that everyone's always like, oh, it's so overpowered, unbelievable, can't believe your army has this, whatever, this, that just never works for you. Every time you use it, you're like, God, I hate this thing so much. You have to keep it in because, like, sometimes it's fine, most of the time it fulfills a role. You know it's really good. But what's the unit in your own army that you're like, God, I hate this loser. He's so bad at everything. So that is my question to
And
you.
stick around for the bonus video or the bonus round where we will be going through our answers. And I have just had like five flash through my head, and one of them I keep submitting and was in my list last weekend. So
Oh,
but
I
I'm
guess we'll
still running it,
see.
and it still upsets me because I've been
Yep.
hating it for 4 years. But I still keep putting it
That's
in because like, I can't not run it.
that's a long time.
This book's been around a while. I'm gonna have to like write a eulogy when I put this book to bed. I
Yeah.
played so many. I think the new Terra, the seventh, eighth edition Terra Codex might be the book of all time I played the most games with. So
Wow.
I'm gonna be kind of kind of sad when it gone. I played
When
the
it
ETC
goes.
with this book. I won my first super major with this book. It'll be sad.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Give that book
Well,
a Viking funeral, is what I say.
I'm keeping it for the artwork, of course.
Yeah. And the lore.
I have all my seventh edition books, so if anybody ever asks me if they want to play a game of seventh edition, I can do that. So
Do you want to do that?
a little bit, yeah.
Just a little, right?
Just play Horus Heresy, you nerd.
He
There's
could
no
put his
invent.
7th edition Tyranids into Horus Heresy.
I would lose every game. There's no invisibility in seventh edition, and
Oh,
seventh edition Horus Heresy, and that's all I
oh,
was really there for.
okay.
Okay, we're gonna do a little bit. We're gonna curtail this one a little bit because we've done a little bit already. We're gonna go through like a 20-minute meta discussion with the three of us. Um, and the discussion I have this week is holy s, these Harlequins and Eldar are borked, right? What can other factions do? What's our game plan for the everyone else besides wait, which is not a useful bit of advice.
Is Suffer allowed?
Okay, so wait, suffer, or swap the Harlequins and our Eldar are not approved answers here.
All right.
You got to come up with something better than
I,
that.
I think if you can put something into your list that will spit out mortal wounds and kind of peel the onion that is the Harlequins list a little bit, like maybe you can do it. I mean, Crusher has the ability to exert that over space, right? And very quickly. So if you ram a harpy into a shadow seer if it's open, or if you ram it into a character that's kind of open, you can do some mean things to a Harlequins list. You just have to find a way to peel the onion of buffs that supports the Harlequins list apart. And that starts with a shadow seer. So if you have something that can ignore character protection from vehicles and pick them off, if you have some way to bypass either preventing either the 4-up save or the rerolls, using flat buffs in some cases. You just I would say you need to take more chain swords, but that is a potential answer. If you can just vomit attacks at Void Weavers, you probably will take one out. But I think Mortal Wounds is the actual answer. If you can find a way to spit Mortal Wounds, or just bring like, I don't know, a flamer bomb if you're Gene Stealer Colt and just annihilate a whole squadron of Void Weavers that way.
Bladed Cog boys, do it. Do it.
Do
Exactly.
do not. I'm gonna warn you in advance. If you can't extend the range of your flamer bomb,
Don't do it.
do not do that. You will
True.
be
But
very
geez,
sad.
the Bladed Cog can.
If you
No, no,
can
no, no,
get
Anthony. You just got to go for the mega flip of killing the Challenger with a Gallimore first.
and then taking away everything else so that then you can hit everything at no
Yeah,
Dude, if
range.
flip.
someone did that to me and it was successful, I would just concede out of respect. I would just be like, "Congratulations, sir. You are far more brave than I, and you deserve this
I
win in a way that I do not."
honestly, Mike Emery brought something in chat that chain swords deserves a spray meme, and what I really think is that
Yeah,
everybody should just take more chain swords tattooed on them somehow, like just a box full of chain swords, like a crate.
It's getting delivered out of a radar.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's coming from all the work they did against Yukari.
It's true.
Yeah,
I don't know. Mortal Wounds is my suggestion, and then finding a way to peel the onion of buffs away. That's all I can think of. I don't know every army in depth enough to be able to give you like pan action advice.
mine is broadly shot volume. Every time someone shot a bunch of X at me, it was like, ah. Anything that you could do to alpha strike and get in there early is also really good.
Mhm.
Um, my last game of the tournament, I played against Blades of Victory Grey Knights, and he went first and put me on my back foot hard core on turn 1. I didn't leave my, like, table corner until, like, turn 3 because I just couldn't get out. I just got stuck, and if you know anything about me, that is a wild phenomena that basically never happens. So, yeah, that works. Anything you can do to exert into their deployment zone and kinda shove them down, they are very vulnerable, especially if they are greedy like some members of an illustrious American-based team and did not take fusion pistols, and they become very, very vulnerable to big boy time in a hurry. Big boy time is a real thing, and it will get you if you don't tech for it.
Also, remember, Void Weavers do not fall back and shoot. You can tag them, and they will
Yes.
do it for one CP, but that's one squad.
Let's
If you
go.
can tag 3 squads, keep them. They're going to have to shoot the one thing they're engaged with. You
Yep.
can definitely limit them that way. They will hit you back in combat weirdly hard. Do worry about that, but you can mitigate that play
Yeah,
around that.
they
And also remember that only models in engagement range can hit you. If you can catch them at an angle where they can't pile in more than one model into you, only one of them will actually shoot you. So you can limit that. Charging and hitting 2 squads at the same time with the tyrant was phenomenal. I loved it.
yeah.
I got 2 suggestions. One is fast obsec is actually really difficult for Harlequins to deal with. They're not great at scoring primary like super early. If you don't have like, because it's hard to just like jump troops out of advance. Right? If you can just like, there's a boat on an objective, just dump some stuff on it and just take it off them and just limit their primary early if you can. Try not to let them rack it up super early. I had a lot of success just going, all right, there's 5 troops on that objective. They get shot by a hive guard or they get charged by a harpy and I get headbutt them and then I just stand on it. And then now you're scoring no primary because yeah, you can kill all my stuff and you're gonna kill my harpy that was there, but you have nothing left. You have nothing on this objective in your turn. You only get so many chances to score primary in a game. If you can limit 1, 2, 3 of those, it puts you in a much better position. Not every army is going to have access to that, but it is definitely a thing you can do, especially if you've got things like the Sisters ability where you can like put Obsec on a unit from Dogmata, chuck out a squad of
Right.
Seraphim or
Over
Sephirim,
there.
grab an objective, go and take it off. It does limit their points in some way. It's probably not a suggestion that's going to work for every army, but if it's something that your army can do, it would probably go a long way to at least keeping the score close. If you're playing in teams, that's a very good thing. And something I'm thinking about a lot at the moment is how to play against them in teams. But like even stuff like Tau Breachers, if you can hide if you can hide a Devilfish full of Breachers, Tau can't super you can't super punish like one sort of Breacher in a Devilfish behind a wall as Harlequins without super committing to it. And if you commit to it, that's bad. And then the Breachers jump out and then use the Devilfish and Bark stratagem, jump on an objective, you take the primary off them turn 2, limit their score, keep it down, force them to come to you if they want to deal with that. And that gives you options to counterplay. but it's not the stuff that's been working in the meta so far. So I'm thinking that might be not why we're not seeing, but we're seeing a few lists with Devilfish and Breachers do a little bit better, which might be part of that. Anthony is nodding and shaking his head alternately at some of the things I'm saying here.
Yeah, the sometimes OBSEC fast was problematic, but I had a couple of opponents try and play the primary game into me, and it became very what's the best like way to explain this? It became very like herd the prey in Drukari, where people would throw stuff at me, and I'd be like, okay, and then they would get themselves killed
Yeah,
too
you have
quickly.
to be.
You have to
It's
learn that pacing and you don't get a lot of opportunities to get it wrong. Like if you get it wrong once is probably too many,
yeah,
but that's going to be a practice game thing more than it is a like
yeah. This is
this
something that
doesn't
you can
work
try to
thing.
build into lists to have
Yep.
play into it. It's not
Yeah.
something that's just going to work for your general league. Don't just throw a squad of intercessors onto their home objective turn one. That's a horrible idea. But like, if you're playing Space Marines and you've got a squad that you can throw out and tag them, and it's got the Death Watch command phase ability that lets you put obsec on a unit, or it's a
Right.
squad all with all the Storm Shields of the Vanguard that was split off, that you can like tag a squad of Void Weavers and charge a character and put a bunch of beating on it, and then have them doing something as well, but also are obsec and denying that primary. Maybe
Oh,
lean into that a little heavier because you can get that multi-use out of it. Because Harlequins are not great at holding objectives other than by being alive, and you're not. That is,
right.
they are, and like the phase transport thing, which is pretty good, but it's not end all be all, especially if you just don't kill the transports. Like, fine,
Yep.
leave it. You got one model there.
Another huge thing is if you have any source of stopping falling back in your army, that makes Harlequins deeply, deeply upset. This weekend, I won a lot of my games by ignoring most of the rules of the game, by being able to just do whatever I want. The second you're like, hey, you can't do that to Harlequins, it slows their game down big time.
And that's my last point. Slow the game down. Slow roll your dice.
Oh, well,
Right?
yes, that also.
Genuinely, if you are rolling like a squad of Hive Guard, a Harlequin Spirit that's got a bunch of luck dice, roll them one at a time. Do hit, wound, they save, you roll damage. Then do the second one. It'll take a couple of seconds. It'll take a little bit of practice to get your head into the space of doing that. But you deny them so much information by doing that, and it's completely the rules of the game that you can slow roll your dice. You choose to fast roll. It's
Yep.
using your clock time, so it's not giving you you're not getting an advantage from this other than denying your opponent information, which means that they're using luck dice in the blind. And the luck dice are so powerful that if you tell them you're taking exactly 8 saves here, or you're taking 6 saves here, you're taking 4 saves here, they have all of that information in advance. If they happen to take that on the first save, that might be the only one they fail and they wouldn't use a luck dice.
Yep.
Or it might be the first of 7 they fail.
Yeah.
They don't know that. You
You
use
won't
your
know.
clock time. If you're not a slow player and you generally finish a game on the clock, that means that there is a resource there that you can use and you can leverage. Try and do that.
Yep.
It will genuinely help you. I was doing a decent bit with Crusher because there was no reason not to. I finished all my games with plenty of time to spare. Use the advantages you've got. Harlequins are busted. Reach into the toolkit a little further than you might otherwise to try and take some advantage there.
Yeah.
Even if it feels a little bit shitty, they're playing Harlequins. They deserve it.
Yeah.
At the 80% win rate point.
At the 80% win rate, slow rolling is like one of those things that's just like, yeah, okay, you can use the game rules.
Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
you can always
Make
use
the
the game rules.
make the Harlequins players play by the rules. Exactly. Anytime you can force the Harlequins to not be able to fall back and do stuff, or slow roll to limit them to the normal rules of the game,
This really puts it
you can
well.
win. They want to honk, so they get the bonk. So says
Exactly,
X
ever ready.
Ever
That is a
Ready X.
wonderful point.
That is a very 90s name as well. Just like
Oh, yeah.
a very 90s
That's
screen
a
name.
that's a YouTube launch account.
Yeah.
I feel like I
That's
feel like I saw that guy in 2013 playing League, but
Probably. You may have.
so
You probably saw
congratulations.
him on, like, the Defense of the Ancients in Warcraft 3, like, on there.
Before it was even independent,
Yeah,
yeah.
before it was a
he was
separate
playing he was
game.
playing A on a strife.
Ah!
Okay,
It's missing a
that's 2
couple
into the weeds.
numbers to really be like the full 90s experience,
Oh,
but that
yeah.
just means that this is an OG account. No
That's right.
numbers means
Yeah,
OG.
it didn't
Yeah, he
didn't
just
need the
hit it.
numbers to be that.
That's
Exactly.
This
right.
is the first account. They couldn't get Ever Ready, so X Ever Ready X was immediate. I'm sorry, Ever Ready. We're just going in on this for no reason,
He's in
which
the
is
he's in the Patreon, I have a sneaky suspicion, so I think I know him.
but that still
Mm.
means that it's a sign that we should probably close out the main show. So,
Yes.
as always, thank you everybody for listening. This has been the primary show, so that if you're listening on the podcast feed, this is all you get. Thank you very much. But we really hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you'll be back next week. If you want to catch the bonus round, which is the second part of the show, where we go through some listener questions, we'll go through our answers to Anthony's question of the week, and also have a little bit more of a relaxed feel, a bit more loose. You can do that by either catching the live stream, which is live every week at 12 a.m. midnight on Wednesday in the UK. And you guys want to run through your times?
This is 7 p.m. East Coast.
6 p.m. Central Time.
I think it's like 4 p.m. West Coast. Sounds
Yeah.
about right. Yeah, we know coast times. And Australia, it's in the future. We don't
That's
know.
true.
No, nobody knows. I'm pretty sure you guys.
Some
know.
kind of weird half-hour time difference. I assume.
That's only New Zealand and Afghanistan, I think. Anyway, if you would like to hear the second part, that is one way you can do it. The other way is by becoming a member on the YouTube. That is youtube.com/c/bestintabletop. And by becoming a member there for, I believe, $10 a month, you get access to all of the behind-the-scenes content. So that's you're going to get us, you're going to get Chasing the Narrative, you're going to get a bunch of the other bat reps that Colin and the other guys have been doing up in Seattle. And also you get to be a supporter of the show, which means we get to keep doing what we're doing. Finally, if you want to be part of the Discord, which is a great place to be, we're all good friends in there. We had a lot of fun. It was really, I got to meet up with a couple of guys, Mitch and Pete from the Discord at the Manchester GT. We went out for drinks on the pub crawl. It was a really good time. Met people we went for dinner at the LGT with a bunch of us. I'm sure there's meetups at all of the other major events. There was a dinner at LVO, I believe. So yeah, we're all good friends in there. There's a lot of good 40K discussion. We definitely try to direct the narrative a little bit in there. Yeah, that is, I believe, $10 a month, and that is patreon.com/bestintabletop. We would love to see you there. And thank you, everybody. I have been Innes. These are my co-hosts, Nathan and Anthony, who I've just pointed to in the wrong direction because the screen is mirrored, as always. Nathan and Anthony.
We did it.
Hope you guys have had a good weekend, and good luck in the future. Good luck at your tours. I am down at the Blackheart Bristol GT this weekend, flying to England on Friday. Fly back on Sunday and then start my new job because I never stop. And then I continue the week after that. It just never seems to be ending at the moment. I'm also ranked 11th in the ITC right now.
Oh yeah,
with
look
4
at the
events.
big show.
4 events. I got 2 more to get.
No longer a boss baby, but a boss man.
Definitely still a boss baby. I have not dropped an event since I joined this show. That is my start of the week.
I'm just saying.
So all I'm saying is listening to the show or being part of the show definitely makes you better. Or make Anthony worse. I think we're actually just drawing power out of Anthony, and he's becoming a worse player.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I won last weekend. Like whatever.
Yeah, but
it's fine.
How did you do it, charity?
Oh, Innes! Wow! Wow! You
Infinite
just
suffering
slaughtered Anthony on live YouTube video.
You lost more games at Cherokee than I lost in March.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Innes, before you drive the third stake into Anthony's heart, we should wrap up.
Yeah, so we are going to take a break. It is currently 1:28 in the morning for me in the UK, which means that it is just about 7:30 for Anthony and 7:30 for Nathan and 8:30 for Anthony. That's the right way around. We will be back in 17 minutes. We will be here for everybody on the live stream. We will be still chatting. For everybody else, thank you very much for joining us. We hope you have a lovely weekend, and we will catch you for episode 10, where I have promised a really cool cold open, which I'm not sure will be cool, but I'm definitely going to do it anyway.
Oh, no.
Okay, you guys know about this. You might have forgotten to put it out of your minds. But...
Often.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.